My name is Steve Appel, and I thank you very much for tuning in to this week's edition of WorkCom Matters. We've got all the news, information, and talk for you independent contractors, employees, and employers for California, in addition to John Scalia in Germany and Daniel Brin on the street. Last but not least, this show I do with Mi Hermano, Abogado Marc Appel. And now here's the show.
Stand by SOT1.
Standing.
10 seconds. Ready, rollin'. Ready, SOT1.
Ready.
In 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll in.
From the Roundtable at Uncle's Studios in beautiful Southern California, welcome to another edition of WorkCom Matters, the central location for you employees, you employers, and of course we haven't forgotten about you damn independent contractors. My name is Steve Appel, and I'll be your host for the next hour with some talk, some news, and hopefully some answers about WorkCom Matters. Thanks for being part of the show, and if you can break away from your WorkCom Matters, feel free to give us a call and clue us in with your questions, comments, and or concerns. The phone number worldwide, 818-357-4120. You can send me an email to wcexaminer@aol.com. Heck, you can be old school. Send me a fax, 818-475-1437. With me in studio, the Chief of Staff, Dr. Mike Zyma, the Lit Man, Attorney Marc Appel, my protege, Attorney Robert Ozeron. Scott Walton of Uncle Studio is on the board. Back in Munich, Germany, John Scalia, back at WorkCom Central. Making sure the whole damn thing goes right is Ms. Kristen Chavez. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of WorkCom Matters. We, of course, are brought to you by WorkCompCentral.com. If you want the number one location for workers' compensation, both in California and around the United States, having to do with blogging, education, communicating about workers' compensation, look up WorkCompCentral.com. They're running a 7-day free trial, all access 7 days, no obligation, WorkCompCentral.com. Give them a call, look them up, send them an email, tell them Steve Appel from WorkComp Matters sent you. We're also brought to you by A1 Law. If you want the number one computer management system used by more workers' compensation attorneys than any other system in the damn Kuiper Belt, you give me a call, 818-357-4120 for your no strings attached, money back guaranteed, $1 a day, A1 Law. And of course, if you want those hard to get, sold out, even front row concert, sports, theater tickets, give our buddy Brian a call at Santa Monica Tickets, 310-395-8587. Well, we got a fantastic show today, and a couple of the topics that we are talking about. The end of the Los Angeles LA teachers strike. It's over and done with. They're back at work. We have the latest on Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E. There's a settlement in the Bay Area restaurant chain of the California Labor Commissioner. Applications for the QME exam are being held through April of this year. $1 billion to retrofit California homes, and a lot more information for you interested in employment, labor, and workers' compensation, you employees, employers, and independent contractors. But right now, on the phone to talk about our first story, Counting the Homeless, is regular contributor to the show, Daniel Brin. And for those of you that don't know, today is day 2 of the Los Angeles County Counting the Homeless project. And he was out there on night 1. So without further ado, Daniel Brin, take it away.
Hey, Steve. Last night I took part in the Greater Los Angeles Homeless Count of 2019. Our local event was organized by the West Hills Neighborhood Council's Homelessness Committee at Shepherd of the Valley Lutheran Church, where about 60 volunteers gathered to watch a training video before setting out in 20 small teams to survey precincts throughout West Hills. In my team, I was the driver, and 2 colleagues acted as a navigator and a counter. Together, we threaded through the streets, searching for homeless people sleeping on the sidewalks or in their vehicles. We only found one person tucked away between a hedge and a wall. Other teams found more. When we returned to the church, we reported our findings, which will be used by government agencies to allocate resources where they're needed. It always is a gratifying and worthwhile experience working together to do good in our neighborhood.
Daniel, let me ask you a question. Is this a nationwide project or for LA County only?
It's for LA County. It's been going on for several years. This is my 3rd year participating.
And how does this year so far compare to your last 2 years?
Well, each time I've taken different areas. I really don't know what the results will be, but the numbers have been fairly static over these last 3 years in my particular community.
Daniel, excuse me.
I have a feeling that they'll be dropping down a little bit.
Daniel, Mike's got a question for you.
Daniel, I didn't get the location, the venue for your count.
Daniel is in West Hills, which is in the northeast San Fernando Valley.
And Daniel, you say you think northwest. You think the count will be down from last year?
Yes. Not for the best of reasons, however. We've most of our homeless here in West Hills are living in RVs, recreational vehicles, and they've been parking on streets, and they're running out of streets where they can legally park, and they're being chased away by our local city council member put up signs saying no overnight parking on these streets, and there's hardly any places left where they can park legally.
So they just have to go someplace else.
Exactly.
It's like a NIMBY thing, not in my backyard.
Right.
NIMBY. I have never heard that before, Mike. Where did you get this NIMBY thing from?
Well, I didn't coin the phrase, but I heard it a long time ago, usually to do with environmental stuff.
Oh, well, I appreciate that very much. Daniel, any closing thoughts?
This is a problem that will require us getting beyond the NIMBY mentality. We have to find temporary housing to get these people off the street, and then more permanent arrangements with full supportive services.
Daniel, thank you very much for your volunteering last night, and once again coming on in to WorkComp Central, WorkComp Matters, part of WorkComp Central. We look forward to you coming in again. Your contributions are valuable. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Steve.
And, of course, there goes Daniel Brin. Was he giving you like a backhanded compliment, Mike, with that NIMBY or something like that?
Maybe he was just acknowledging the term. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
why he would give him a compliment. He cribbed.
And with the first news story of the day talking about the homeless, he's my right-hand man. He's the doctor. He's the chief of staff. He keeps me in check and hopefully out of trouble at least 90% of the time, Mr. Mike Zyma.
So, thank you. I suppose this is part of what Daniel was involved with. Today is day 2 of 3 where thousands of volunteers will count the homeless in the county of LA. The results are expected to be released in May of this year. The study will help determine how resources are distributed, and it is the largest homeless survey in the nation in terms of area covered, according to the LA Homeless Services Authority.
You know, with that, I've said on the show before that my 3 brothers live in the Thousand Oaks area. And as I said earlier, I got to give a welcome to my bro, the Lip Man, attorney Mark Appel. How do you react to the homeless, or do you see the homeless in your area?
May I just say that Litman is of legend in our office. He's a living legend to us and to me, and here he is in the flesh. It's wonderful.
He handles a lot of our civil stuff.
Yes, not as big as a legend as I am in my own mind,
okay.
though.
There you go.
Yeah, but Steve, first of all, let me say thanks for having me. Great to be here.
It's what do you think of legendary Uncle Studios?
I can see this is where the magic happens.
Absolutely.
There's a giant poster of Eddie Van Halen in his prime right behind you, and I walked in and I just felt smarter and cooler, like right away.
Well, it's sort of
It'll wear off.
It's the elixir.
What is that? How water goes? It sort of permeates into your skin when you enter Uncle's
It's
osmosis.
an elixir.
Yes.
You get it by
Yeah,
osmosis.
it's excellent. But to answer your question,
Yes. Do you have homeless
we
there in the Thousand
absolutely
Oaks?
have homeless in Thousand Oaks and in the Conejo Valley overall. It's a huge problem that absolutely should be addressed. But interesting point, and I don't know if this is good or bad or it says more about me. I did not even know that they did this. That they did an actual count.
I didn't know.
So
Yep.
maybe one thing
Yep.
you might want to tell Daniel is what they should do is get out the word that this is something that they are doing.
Well, we've said on the show many times before that in California there are about 100,000 homeless, and in Los Angeles County, about half of them, about 50,000.
And now we know what Daniel's doing at night. He's out there on the streets counting
Just
homeless.
counting a guy.
There you go.
How does he actually count? I want to know. Does he?
Oh, no, dolls.
I mean, does he tap them or does he just write it down?
I don't
I'm
know. That
sorry,
would be
I forgot to
interesting.
ask.
Probably
him.
like a laser pointer and a notepad.
Yeah, but
I
no.
wouldn't want to do it.
Thanks for very much for coming in, and we've got a story later on PG&E and the fires. And I also mentioned on the show that my brothers, including you, were under mandatory evacuation, even though that all of your communities were safe, and that's absolutely wonderful. So thanks for coming on in. It's now time for the Work Comp Central story. And if any of you get a chance, please check out today's January 23rd version of Work Comp Central. There is a story called Newsom Names Sue Labor Secretary. And here's the story. Governor Gavin Newsom appointed California Labor Commissioner Julie Sue to Secretary of California Labor Workforce Development Agency, the position that has been held by David Lanier since 2013. Sue has served as the Labor Commissioner since 2011. I think we have a story on her tonight as well. And she also spent 17 years as a civil rights lawyer. Before leaving her office, former Governor Brown named Lanier chairman of the board of directors for State Compensation Insurance Fund. And I wanted to throw it out to the lit man. You know, about half, we were talking off the air, half of your practice is employment law. And, you know, we get the news articles from the Department of Industrial Relations, and a lot of them are about what I refer to as these PAGA lawsuits and how the labor commissioner is finding, and we have a story tonight where they agreed to a $4 million settlement. But I was mentioning to Mike earlier at the office that a lot of these fines by the labor commissioner have really come about in the last 2 years, and that, say, between 2013 and 2016, 2017, it was kind of quiet. What's your take? Have there been more fines of employers not paying for overtime, breaks, lunches, taxes on independent contractors? You do a lot of employment law. What's your take?
Well, I think you've got a lot of PAGA and class action lawsuits. And
let's keep that mic right in front of your face. Okay. There you go.
Yeah. So you have a lot of those. So that's why you hear a lot about it now. But I think employment lawyers, I don't do class actions. I wish I did. And I don't do a lot of PAGA work. But I'm sure they would rather see the fines come in the form of the civil cases as opposed to the labor commissioner.
Because there's more money involved there?
More money for them.
There you go. Go ahead and tilt your mic about 2 inches to the left.
I'm getting the education
to
right
the
here.
left.
Your left or my left?
Your left. There you go. No, that's okay. It's your first time here, and you were talking about how you were a little nervous, but I mean, you know, you're already permeated by osmosis. There's nothing to be nervous about. And in fact,
never said I was nervous. Don't say that on the air.
Sorry about that.
I deny that, and you can't prove nothing.
Why don't you go ahead and read the next news story? Hey, the LAUSD teachers.
Good.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get this one.
There you go.
The Los Angeles Teachers Union ended its strike last night based on overwhelming support for a contract agreement with the school district union leaders said.
And I'm going to stop you right there before you read the second half of the story. You know, all of the comments on social media by the teachers are, I stood out in the rain for a week. Oh, we got nothing. And a bunch of negative criticism. However, the gentleman who runs the union says that the agreement was approved by overwhelming support, which makes me think that a lot of the supporters clearly did not comment on social media. And you only sort of have like the trolls of the LAUSD and the people who want to make negative comments, because a majority of the comments on social media are negative, yet he said it was supported by overwhelming support. What do you think?
Do you think perhaps that the spokesman was embellishing?
I don't know.
That doesn't happen in today's society, does it?
or never happens in such situations.
Right.
The truth
Especially
is
not
somewhere in the middle, probably.
Yes, right,
Yeah.
probably. I mean,
Go
as I
ahead
say,
and finish the
it never
story.
happens in Washington, D.C. But
Yeah.
So teachers, nurses, counselors, and librarians were all back at their jobs today, said Alex Caputo Pearl, president of United Teachers Los Angeles. A vast supermajority are voting yes for the agreement that we made, said Caputo Pearl.
Now, your kids are not LAUSD, right?
No, actually, if we live in Thousand Oaks, so they would be Conejo, but we actually send our kids to private school. I don't know what that says about us, but it's interesting.
It says you can afford to send your kids to
Well,
private school.
It's an interesting dynamic because they have maybe 15 to 20 kids maximum in their classes.
20 max per class.
LAUSD is
39,
35 to 40 kids
yeah.
now, and you got to wonder what kind of education they can get. And I believe it was the governor years ago who slashed the California education budget. I don't know where that money went, but it sure as hell didn't go to the schools. So that's really too bad.
Now, you, me, and our brothers all went to the same public school. We did not go to private school.
Go used to be the Braves, now they're the Patriots.
And I've spoken about that on the show many times.
Yes.
Screw the Patriots.
Right.
I'm a Brave.
But-
We're still the Indians, by the way.
Okay.
Up there at Hard High.
Interesting point, actually. I played poker on Monday night with our buddy Mark Epstein.
Yep.
One of the guys in the who was in the game is a teacher. And I asked him where he was working, and he said, well, right now I'm working in the street because he works for LAUSD. But Birmingham, I didn't know this, is a charter school, so they were not on strike.
I didn't know that either. Now, what I knew in my district, El Camino, they were not on strike either because they have a separate contract, apparently.
Yeah. These are just things that I didn't know, and now I do.
And they weren't doing sympathy strikes. They
No,
were.
I don't think so. I think they were actually teaching. So good
Well,
for them.
there's some updated news on PG&E, and he's my protege with the next story. 6-year applicant attorney Robert Ozeron.
PG&E today blasted a federal judge's plan for wildlife safety as unrealistic, saying his proposal for the utility to inspect every inch of its electrical grid and remove risky trees would cost $75 billion to $150 billion.
PG&E has a lot of chutzpah complaining about a judge telling them to inspect their land.
Well, especially
Can you
a
believe
federal
that?
judge, they don't usually take any lip.
The embattled utility, which does plan to file for bankruptcy because of those wildfire claims, said it does not have the ability to raise those funds. PG&E already potentially owes $30 billion to wildlife survivors. PG&E has asked state regulators for a $100 billion rate increase, in part to fund a more modest wildlife safety effort.
Is it really realistic to expect that they can? I mean, they must have thousands of miles of lines, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands.
Well, they were saying that it's $30 billion in damages from the fire, and this would cost $75 to $150 just to inspect the line. So
I don't
3
think so.
times the
Well, he's saying
Seems
every
awfully high,
inch.
doesn't it?
It's ridiculous.
Inspect every inch.
And I don't know what they're complaining about because they're just going to charge their customers for it anyway.
Well, exactly. In fact, let's.
Well,
The
there are
PUC lets them.
Correct. There are rate increase limits here, and they're requesting a $1 billion annual increase in order to offset these
They'll
costs.
get it. They'll get it because
Go ahead.
I was just going to say they have lobbyists. Remember, was it 8 years ago, Blue Cross applied for a 30% increase on their premiums, and everybody objected and complained. So they got it down to about 23, and within 3 or 4 years, it was up 50%. None of this matters at all because all the big companies get whatever they want. Always.
And then, of course, last year during the alleged drought, DWP, who I'm under, said we have to cut back 25%. And when everybody cut back 25%, they actually had the nerve to raise their rates because they weren't making enough money.
You keep saying alleged drought.
Yes, I don't believe in a drought. There's the same amount of water. No, there's the same amount of water on the planet now as there was 4 billion years ago.
You believe in global warming, though,
I was
right?
going to say,
Not
do you
here.
believe in climate change?
Well, global warming or climate
course
change?
I
Hold on, let's
believe
go
in-
one at a time because
okay.
it morphs. Which one? First, start with the old-fashioned
he's already
one.
smarter
Global
than I
warming.
am.
I'm
So go with
going
his.
to make it real easy. I believe in global warming and I believe in climate change, but over 95% of it is due to the natural progression of the Earth.
So
it's
human-
not man-made.
So
95%
man-made involvement's
of it.
overstated.
Oh, absolutely, without
Grossly.
question. Oh, grossly. Oh, totally.
So basically, you're saying global warming could be generally a hoax, almost a hoax.
No, it's not a
Has
hoax.
such low weight that it's nearly a hoax.
No, 13,000 years ago, we came out of an ice age. It's not a hoax.
Yeah, from a damn meteor.
Well, they're
no,
only
no, Marco,
recently.
that was
Meteor was
50
much
million
earlier.
years ago.
Actually, I believe he's right. There may have been a meteor in the Greenland ice
Yes,
shelf.
13,000
Correct.
years ago?
Correct.
So there could have been a number of them, yeah.
That would have been the pulse water, right? The pulse water rise.
I'm just going to nod to whatever you're saying right now, but I agree with you.
But correct, yeah, there was a rapid increase in sea levels. But it could be a meteor. All I'm saying is humans weren't industrialized back then, and I'm sure they still had some people blaming each other. So
Right.
it is what it
Humans
is.
play a part, but in a very small part. And the classic example would be our fantastic state of California. If you go back to the 80s and the 90s, clearly California had way too much smog because of all of the cars.
Well,
and
that's pollution, boss. We're now conflating pollution with global warming. One is local, one is global.
It's a carbon thing.
Okay, but I mean, doesn't this scream of the human ego, like when people would have an earthquake and they blame that woman for being unchaste, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's just the human ego on a trip is what it looks like. Everything is our fault all the time, even if it's outside of our control.
But Steve, you don't think that we went through a recent drought event, right?
No, I don't believe in the drought. 98% of the water on the planet is salt. 2% of the water is fresh, and we have the exact same amount of water
It's just
that
not
we
here.
do now. It just gets rechanneled.
Still a
Around
drought.
the
It's still a
globe.
local drought.
Oh, well, there you go. Local drought.
Oh, well, that's what I mean.
Okay. Oh, I believe
They
in
do have a
local-
lot of water up north and on the East Coast, right?
I absolutely believe in local droughts. And remember, here again, we are in the Los Angeles basin, which is essentially a desert. All of our water is piped in because they don't have the ability to make a profit on desalination plants. Once they can profit from desalination, the DWP and PG&E, they're all going away, and we're going to get all our fresh water by desalinating the
My
seawater.
understanding was Australia did that.
Well, a lot of
got away
places.
with it.
If you go to like Jamaica and the Virgin Islands, they use those big contraptions that collect cisterns. Cisterns that collect the water. They don't have like Department of Water and Power.
That's
or
not
anything like that.
desalination.
No. I
No,
don't
it
think so.
collects rainwater, and that's how they get their water, from cisterns.
Well, as far as more
Didn't they get it from
continental
rain?
U.S., can't we just pipe over water from the east to the west? I know it's a long pipe. I get it,
Yeah.
but we can do this, right?
Alaska's
That's not-
pretty cold. They got a bunch of ice. Let's take it from there.
up north. I mean, they're always having floods over there on the east. Can't we just kind of take a little of that
We
water?
just had 4 days of torrential rain last week. That probably took care of us for the whole year.
Do you remember a number of years ago somebody suggested that they just cut a big iceberg and bring it down?
Where there's a 300 square mile piece in Antarctica that's about ready to or has already broken off, right?
It's shrinking and it's shrunk, but there is no global warming and there is no climate change. Just keep that in mind, Mr. Trump.
It shrinks when it's colder up there.
Got
Yes.
you.
And
iceberg.
by the way, I'm still amazed that Robert got unchaste into the conversation.
Well, you know how humans in the not too distant past would blame everything on. They still do this in parts of the world, right? If there's an
If he
earthquake,
thinks he's guilty.
God?
well, God, they blame a woman for for having sex before marriage for the earthquake or a wildfire. I mean, the human ego to think that we have somehow, affected these enormous events is.
So you don't think we have either?
Well, maybe there is some overlap, like Steve said, that human interaction, or human carbon footprint has perhaps had some negligible effect. But I think there's a lot of competing studies out there some of them show that like solar rays will increase the temperature more drastically.
I
than
haven't heard
human.
of any of those.
There's all. I mean,
I follow it relatively closely.
I got DiCaprio and Al Gore on speed dial. I'm going to call them right now.
Interestingly enough,
they will tear you apart.
I know they'll take their private jet here to tell me how bad my carbon footprint is.
Right.
Right.
But I believe a lot of meteorologists, like TV weathermen, don't really buy into global warming.
You talking about that guy from San Diego?
Oh, the late John Coleman.
Well, that guy, I've Googled him, and he's like some kind of whack job.
He started the Weather Channel. He was the founder of the Weather Channel.
Rich whack job.
If he's the guy I'm thinking of, you gave me a name.
Did the
and I
Weather
checked it on
Channel just
Google.
get slapped with a huge
fine?
Well,
funny enough is he worked for KSI down in San Diego, and they were in the news recently because they refused to do that CNN hit piece on the wall, if you guys recall that one. So this is the same channel that was promoting John Coleman at the time as their weatherman. Now this is much, these are years apart, these events, but it just shows you that they said that back then they're a family-owned station and they don't drink the Kool-Aid. They report on what they believe, and CNN called them now recently, and we saw that they refused to do a hit piece, an anti-wall piece, because in their opinion, their wall reporter said it works.
What is this station again?
KUSI down in San Diego.
Who are they affiliated with?
No, I mean no.
They're independent.
And what do you think
independent,
about
I
the
believe.
wall, Robert?
I mean, we need a border. We already have one on the map that I look on the
Do you
internet.
have a wall around your house?
No. Good walls don't make good neighbors. So,
I mean, obviously, we need a border.
A 2,000-mile big slab of concrete, or what are they now? It's slats right now, right? It's slats that nobody can.
The only question is
fit through.
effectiveness. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
What are you trying to make work, though?
Usually a border.
But what exactly?
So you know who comes in and out of your country?
A structure.
Mm-hmm.
No. Is it wrong to know who comes in and out of your country at a legal port of entry? Is that somehow immoral?
I think that's totally fine, but I don't think we need to spend $6 billion on that when
the question
Daniel's out there trying to count homeless with a laser pointer.
Okay. You know what? And we wish Daniel luck, okay? But some of us are, we don't have time for that. I get it. And Daniel's an important man, and he's doing important work, so I don't want to make light of it, and I appreciate everything
And
he's
I'm
doing.
not trying to
but,
either.
Yeah,
I'm
we
trying to make a
appreciate
point,
Daniel's
and I
contribution.
apologize.
But as far as the wall, which is obviously the topic du jour, we obviously need a border. Every country and nation.
We have a border.
Well, do we? A nation without borders is no nation at all.
Dude,
correct?
look on any map. It's this big, thick line.
Man, we do not have a functioning border. So what's your solution?
Well, my question
I
is
didn't
this:
say I had a solution. I just don't think it's a $6 billion wall that, by the way, you can cut through with a table saw.
We talked about this. Well, that's not necessarily true. It would be very difficult.
It is necessarily true.
But we talked that they have to bring power out there. It would have to be some sort of.
I would
They've
say
got those pocket juicers that charge your iPhone. You just stack like 20.
I would say parts of the wall you can cut through.
Okay,
with a table
but
saw.
I digress. We talked last week, and I know you missed this one because this is a last week topic. We talked about the fact that perhaps the wall would be net positive economically. That in the sense that if you go to the ERs today, we know who we're going to see in the ER, every ER across Southern California. You're going to have groups of illegal immigrants using it as their own private health care because that's the only way they can see it.
But you're not saying
they often wait till the last moment.
You're not saying when you count every ER patient, it's more than 50%.
I would, of course, not want to
illegal.
generalize about every ER patient, but we do know that we have a problem with illegal immigrants in our emergency rooms across the Southern California. That's not an overstatement. Am I exaggerating when I say that?
I don't disagree with you.
Okay, that's a general. We also know that we had issues with classroom size at LAUSD not having money, right?
Right.
And then we know that, of course, what is it, about 15 or 12% of all LAUSD students are illegal immigrants, and
that sounds
about 25%
right.
have one parent that's an illegal immigrant, something around that number. And what was the budget shortfall due to illegal immigration? I think I saw it on one of those
Fox
Instagram.
News?
It was Instagram, so you never know how. I get most of my news. from
There's
social
a
media.
reliable news source.
You cynic, you.
Well, social media is
Call Sean Hannity.
is an interesting way to get your news because you never know what's official. So I'll tell you it's from social media. But they was talking about the fact that the LAUSD immigration issue costs them billions of dollars a year, tens of billions of dollars every 10 years or something like that. I think they're like 18 billion every 10 years.
Here's my biggest issue. My biggest issue with the wall, though, is it's not really trying to solve a problem. It's trying to fulfill a campaign promise.
That's not necessarily. Well, if the campaign promise is to solve a problem, it's going to be one and the same.
It's a campaign promise that Mexico was supposed to pay for it.
Okay, but there's all sorts of ways that we can
We've
make
talked
Mexico
about
pay for
Trump's
it.
hyperbolic nature before. He just speaks in hyperbole, and sometimes
not
it's
necessarily
very
true.
difficult to stomach.
He talks out of his arse.
Did you see Ted Cruz's proposal where he would want to take the money from El Chapo and all these illegally seized drug money
I have
and
no
use it
problem with
to
that.
fund the law?
Sounds fine with me.
And in fact, I believe the money that they seized from El Chapo is basically what they need already.
You know, I've resisted talking about El Chapo on this on this show, but did you hear he testified he wrote $100 million
Allegedly,
check
to the former president of Mexico.
the former president of Mexico. But I've resisted talking about the El Chapo trial on WorkCom Matters. My name is Steve Appel, and it is such a pleasure to be with you all. We're brought to you by WorkCompCentral.com. If you want the #1 location for workers' compensation, we're going to have another WorkComp Central story. Look them up at WorkCompCentral.com. They have a completely free, no obligation, 7-day free trial, all access. And by the way, we got to talk about A1 Law, which is next, because I know that Litman, my brother Mark, uses A1 Law.
Killer program.
If you want the #1 computer management system used by more workers' compensation attorneys, including my brother Mark Appel, give me a call at 818-357-4120 for your no-strings-attached money-back guarantee. $1 a day, A1 Law. And if you want those hard-to-get sold-out, even front-row concert sports theater tickets, give our buddy Brian a call at Santa Monica Tickets, 310-395-8587. We'll be back with Mike, Mark, Robert after John Scalia.
Hi, this is John with the WorkComp International Report from Munich. Well, this week, as usual, I will begin with Trump takes. The people who bet on Trump to lie won money. There's actually a betting site where you can bet on how many lies the president tells during one of his speeches. And the last one on the border issue, the over and under, I believe, was 3.5, and he told 6. Yeah, they actually give a half for when he just sort of exaggerates or fudges. But anyway, the betting site paid out $270,000 to the people who bet that he would go over the limit on lies. Secondly, Trump canceled the American delegation going to Davos, Switzerland. That's for the World Economic Forum, which is a big deal. Now, many of the leaders of the world are not going to be there this time, but they're all sending delegations. But Trump was not satisfied with simply canceling his own appearance. If I can't go, I'm going to take my ball. So he canceled the whole delegation. Yeah, this is not nationalism. This is isolationism. And finally, there's the vice idiot. Yes, good old Pence, who's a born-again follower, made a comparison to Donald Trump and Martin Luther King. Apparently, Pence is too stupid to realize how offensive that is to anybody or everybody. And so he went and made the comparison anyway. He would have been better off comparing Mother Teresa and Hitler, because after all, Mother Teresa and Hitler were both baptized Catholics. And that's a good segue into the next issue, which is what happened on the Capitol Mall with a student from Covington Catholic High School in northern Kentucky. Covington Catholic High School is an all-male high school owned by the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Covington, Kentucky. Now, the student claims he was not mocking a Native American, and personally, I don't know whether he was or wasn't. But what I found interesting was why he was there. He was there because the Roman Catholic class from Covington, Kentucky, as part of their education, was sent to Washington, D.C. to protest abortion. Huh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that protesting abortion was part of religious education. Further, interestingly enough, whenever the together, in case you've ever seen a picture, on one side of the Pope is the Patriarch of the Eastern Orthodox Churches, the Patriarch of Constantinople, and on the other side of the Pope is the head of the Church of England, the Archbishop of Canterbury. Oh yeah, by the way, the Church of England does not think abortion is prohibited, or at least certainly the American branch does not. It says it's an undesirable option, but an option nonetheless, and that there's no moral delinquency for opting for it. So much for that. Okay, well, the Roman Catholic Church, through their archdiocese, runs schools. They not only run high schools, they run universities. They run Catholic University in D.C., and they even run the law school that Robert attended. So their tentacles are everywhere. And now, going on with the education mode, I'm with the LA teachers strike. Why am I qualified to talk about that? Well, I think I'm the only person on the panel who's ever represented LA Unified School District, and I represented them for a while. I got to know several facts about the LA Unified School District. First, it's too big to work. I mean, and every study that's ever been done says it's just unwieldy. It's too frickin' large. It's the second largest school district in the country, and it's dysfunctional. Okay. Secondly, my opinion of school teachers is that they have a very low bar to meet. A decade ago or more, I got bored one summer, and I decided I would get a teaching credential. So without taking any preparation courses or without even studying, I hadn't been in a classroom in about 30 years, I decided I would take the exam which teachers are required to take in order to get their credential. The teachers union had protested that it was unfair and too tough. Well, I went in, and in fact, because it was a day on which UCLA was playing Miami in a big football game, I only allowed myself 2 hours out of the allocated 4 hours to take the exam. I passed with no problems, and I actually taught a half a day in a local elementary school. My take on the exam, a smart 8th grader could pass it. Anyway, the LA teachers are on strike. Why? Okay, forget about the wages. They're really not, well, you can argue about whether or not they're underpaid. I don't think they are, but that's not really the issue. They argue about there's too many students per class. There probably are. They argue that there's not enough money for school supplies. There probably isn't. And of course, they argue that they're always fighting the bureaucracy, which they are. So it'll be resolved, and the school teachers will get some of what they want, but nothing will change. And by the way, one of the times I had to interview a witness at Los Angeles High School, which is in a good neighborhood. And this was decades ago. And I went out there and I was shocked to see that the whole school was fenced in like a prison. This was, it was out of my experience. The only school in all of San Francisco where I grew up, public school, that was fenced in was where the disciplinary problems were sent. But it was. And of course, this was long before there were checks for weapons and all that other sort of stuff that goes on routinely now. But the one thing about LA Unified School District, which you may or may not know, is it is a police state. And you say, well, John, really? Yeah, the LA Unified School District has its own police force. It is the third largest police force in the state of California, and they are weapons qualified, and they carry. Yeah. So you put all those facts together, and the bottom line is education can't occur in a situation like that. Well, that's the view from Munich this week.
And John, thank you very much. Normally we go to a musical break, but it's just way too lively. My name is Steve Appel. You're dialed into WorkComp Matters. We're brought to you by WorkCompCentral.com. If you want the #1 location for your workers' compensation information, blogging, education, the whole ball of wax, specializing in California, but all the way around the nation, all of the states, WorkCompCentral.com. They've got a free 7-day trial subscription. Just look them up, WorkCompCentral.com. A1 Law, if you want the #1 computer management system used by more workers' compensation attorneys than any other system in the damn Kuiper Belt, give me a call at 818-357-4120 for your no-strings-attached money-back guarantee, $1 a day. A1 Law. And finally, Santa Monica tickets. Front row sold out. It doesn't matter. 310-395-8587. I've got another WorkComp Central story here, and this one is from my buddy Greg Jones. I think he's the West Coast or West Regional editor. It's from today, January 23rd. The story is entitled "One Call Denies Referring Patients to the Cheapest Providers." One Call Medical denies referring California injured workers only to chiropractors offering the biggest discounts. They said in court filings that they use a, quote, proprietary scoring system, close quote, to decide which chiropractors they will refer most patients to. The company doesn't describe how it scores chiropractors in its medical provider network, and its attorneys didn't return calls from Work Comp Central. The Independent Physical Therapists of California, and we reported this to you a year or two ago, the Independent Physical Therapists of California were suing Work Comp Central. They were suing One Call Medical, settled a lawsuit which claimed that One Call Medical referrals were based solely on rate reduction and not the quality of care. So we've all been doing workers' compensation for a gazillion years, and we all have admitted injury claims where you have to go to the medical provider network. And I mean, we may have our choice of our preferred treating doctors, but if an MRI is recommended, you always get that obligatory notice. We use One Call Medical, and then with the physical therapist. Who here really believes that One Call Medical is not referring a majority of their injured workers to the vendors, the medical vendors that are charging them the least expensive rate?
They're good people. I don't think they did anything wrong.
It's got to be profit-driven, right?
I would think so. I mean, One Call's been around for 30-plus years, right?
Are they in other states? I assume they are now.
They are based in Florida, and I think they're in all states. Clearly, they do a huge chunk of business.
Why do you even
California.
Why do you even need One Call at all? If you have to go through the MPN and you get something approved, don't you just pick whatever provider you want to pick and get the service you need? Why do you need One Call at all?
My understanding is you're only allowed to select the PTP, the primary treating physician. If the PTP recommends a physical therapy, recommends MRI, recommends EMG studies, recommends something like that, I call a third-party medical vendor, you don't get to choose which one you want.
One Call chooses it for you?
I believe the adjuster chooses it for you.
Really? Because if I may have an aside on this, it's interesting because I'm in my monkey suit today, as you can tell.
And when was the last time you designated your own physical therapist for one of your clients?
I don't care about that.
There you go.
I had an expedited today for a teacher's assistant, actually, who got hit in the who had her eye socket broken by an autistic 8-year-old.
We've talked about expediteds on the show. Sorry
Right.
sorry to interrupt you, but we have said many times that we file expediteds 90% of the time. They get settled or resolved in our favor because the insurance company didn't do what they should have done. But please continue.
Right. So what this issue was is the woman, after she had her surgery, the QME agreed and the PTA agreed she needed a special type of glasses. So it went through. After we filed our first expedited, it got approved. We got a letter approving it and said it has to go through One Call. I told them I'm keeping the expedited on calendar. 3 weeks later, I still don't have anything from One Call. Finally, my secretary calls him today. The expedited is at 1 o'clock. We went through everybody in the MPN. We can't find anybody who will do it.
Right.
To fill a damn pair of eyeglasses? Seriously? Now, this is obviously more an indictment of the MPN.
I mean,
than
why
it
not
is
go
of
to
One
Lens
Call.
Crafters, you know?
Well, that's what I said. I said, finally, she'll get it at Kaiser, but they want $900. Just send her a check, for God's sake. So he says, well, we're now going to have to go outside the MPN. We got an agreement that she'll go to Costco and get an estimate for whatever she needs, and they'll send a check within 5 days.
See, I wouldn't have done that. I would have told the defendant, you go to Costco and get the estimate.
Well, I like that idea, but
unrealistic, unfortunately.
Exactly.
But the defense finally said that you could go outside the MPN for this service?
He was the one who said I have to go outside the MPN.
The DA?
Yeah.
I see.
Yes, from a very prominent firm who I think a founder has been interviewed by Stephen on this show recently.
Wonderful, wonderful. And if any of you have not heard the Don Tobin interview, it is absolutely magnanimous. Check out the riveting. Check out the Don Tobin interview.
Legend.
Yes. Who's got the next news story? It's up for grabs.
Burmese restaurant?
I think I'll take it. May I?
As long as you speak into your microphone, yes.
Mariano Rivera.
There you go.
The former Yankee relief pitcher was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame this week, the first to be elected by unanimous vote. Why many have questioned why Rivera got in unanimously and not others such as Nolan Ryan, Cal Ripken, Henry Aaron, and Stan Musial, the fact that the Rivera vote was unanimous is noteworthy. 425 members of the Baseball Writers Association of America vote every year for induction based on a specific set of criteria.
And we don't speak about sports on the show too often, but Mariano Rivera was an employee of the Yankees for 19 years, so
A very
it's
well-paid
noteworthy.
employee.
Yeah, it's noteworthy.
A
Yeah.
lot of games in California.
Oh, yeah.
So he
Right.
qualifies for mentioning on this show. Right?
Absolutely.
Mariano, call us. Okay.
Yes. And if you need your continuous trauma claim, I think he's been out for 5 years, though, so the statute may have run, but maybe he just discovered. that
Well-
he
Just
had a
discovered
Tommy
his
John injury.
disability, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So give us a call, Mariano.
No way that right shoulder can get washed out.
I don't think so. Although it depends if they pick like a couple of those guys in. Won't name names. Never mind.
Okay.
Next story.
Yeah, just read the next story.
Well, Mike actually skipped to the end.
I
so,
did.
I'll take this one because I was actually researching it. The Labor Commissioner's Office has reached a $4 million settlement with the owners of a Bay Area Burmese restaurant chain to repay 298 workers identified in a wage theft investigation last year. And while I want to say, first of all, bravo to actually the Asian Law Caucus that got them this settlement. So bravo to
Ooh.
them. But I want to know, what is Burmese food and how can they afford to pay a $4 million fine?
Really good. Well, it supposedly they had originally made an arrangement to do 3 payments, and then they may have flaked out on one of the payments, so they had to redo the settlement. I think I read something like that.
Yeah, but good for them. Rangoon Ruby is the name of the restaurant. So if you're up there in the Bay Area, check out Rangoon Ruby and see if they're paying their workers.
There you go. Hey, Robert, I think you got the next news story.
I believe you read
about
that
the-
one.
No, not the QME apps. No.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Or you can read whatever you want.
Well, let me read the Bob Hertzberg.
Go for
He's
it.
Here
Go
at Van
for it.
Nuys.
Go for it.
California State Majority Leader Bob Hertzberg from Van Nuys, a Democrat, yesterday announced a bill to allocate $1 billion in funding over the next 10 years to retrofit homes across California. The bill was timed to follow the 25th anniversary of the Northridge earthquake that took place on January 1994. More than 60,000 single-family houses, apartments, and mobile homes were destroyed and rendered temporarily unavailable in the wake of the earthquake, which caused $20 billion in household damage and left 22,000 people homeless.
And just what the heck does this mean? I mean, all 4 of us at this table are homeowners. Are we going to get some tax money to retrofit our homes?
We don't
or
need
what?
to.
What
I
the
don't-
They're gonna send you a light bulb
I
or
don't
something.
need to. I don't need to.
Yeah, they're going to send me a light bulb,
They'll
right?
send you a light bulb, yeah. And they'll be like, now you're safe.
Where do they get this kind of dough?
Well, it's over
Us?
10 years, and it's a very good question.
Well,
Where
they
are
just got $4 billion from Ruby Rangoon.
It was $4
4
million.
million, sorry.
$4 million.
Well, that'll cover a lot of light bulbs.
The Division of Workers' Compensation is now accepting applications for the Qualified Medical Evaluator examination on April 13th. QMEs are independent physicians.
I'm sorry, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
QMEs are independent physicians certified by the DWC Medical Unit to conduct medical evaluations of injured workers. Applications for the QME exam may be downloaded from the DWC website.
What are the qualifications? I mean, you do have to go to medical school,
And
right?
you have to pass a test.
Okay.
No.
So you don't have to. So you don't have to actually
No,
be a doctor.
Stop. No, of course not. A chiropractor is not a medical doctor.
He's a
doesn't go
doctor.
to. Yes, but he doesn't go to medical school. A psychologist does not go to medical school.
You got to
but
be
he's-
appropriately licensed, and you have
Yeah.
to have been in practice for a certain amount of time, and you got to pass the test.
And
That's
what
my
is the?
understanding.
Anybody know what's on the test? Wouldn't you like to get one of those, like an
I
SAT,
do not know
like an
what's on
SAT
the
or
test.
something, right?
I think
Maybe
it's-
we could find somebody.
I think
to
it's
take-
basic comp law and basic comp reporting,
Oh.
from what I understand.
All right. So they have to know something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
you
all
gotta
evidence
know-
to the contrary.
You got to know a little something. That's right. Mike, why don't you take the next news story about the workers' compensation insurers?
Well, boss, actually, there's
Oh,
a story
yeah.
that you missed. I mean, this
Okay.
morning, Pelosi disinvited Trump, and we have to mention that, right?
Let's,
Gotta let Mark bring that one
take
up.
the rest of the time.
Talking-
for that.
And then Mark also
about
wanted to talk
pissing in
about
the
the
wind. Oh, my
Native
God.
American
Yes, I
protester.
did.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
there's barely
Go for
any
it.
time left for those two biggies, and we have such a nice guest,
Go
Oh,
wild.
hey, thanks.
So go for it. Go nuts. nuts. Whack the Trump pinata if you like.
Okay, well, let me state this. Despite my obvious political leanings or apparent political
Well, I
leanings,
don't think it's that obvious. I mean,
It's
you're
pretty
not,
obvious, but continue.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Listen, I am a Democrat, although I like to consider myself moderate. I don't think I'm a bleeding heart.
And I referred to you as a common sense Democrat.
Okay,
which is the same thing.
You're
as
the
a
only
moderate.
person in the world who thinks that
Oh,
of me, but
okay.
thank you.
No, okay,
I
go ahead.
want to say that it was Bush League for Pelosi not to invite Trump to do the State of the Union. I thought it was petty.
Do you
I
think?
absolutely.
Do you think it's
that.
going to come back to bite them more
Wait a
than it is
minute.
going to be
Wait a
effective?
minute. Wait. Hold it. It wasn't not invite him. It basically disinvited him.
Well, no, actually,
First, she cited a
technically it's
security
not.
concern.
Technically, it's not. Well, actually, I think she did invite him first, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
then she later told him that she didn't think it was a good idea.
Security-wise,
Then she had,
right?
Security-wise.
Then she had to officially disinvite him because he was going to show up tonight or next Tuesday, and so she had to officially say, "You're not welcome here," because the speaker and the speaker alone gets to control
Yeah.
who comes to the House.
But
floor.
that was after Trump had her kicked off the bus
Kicked
with all
off
of
the
her
bus.
buzz.
Right, and now let's talk about that's a bad idea too. Now, with that being said,
That's pretty funny.
I don't necessarily think it would have been appropriate for him to give the State of the Union while the government is shut down.
It's only temporarily shut down, and I understand that there was
Temporarily
a vote. There's a partial shutdown temporarily, and I believe there was a vote recently to fund or pay federal workers, and only 6 Democrats even showed up for the vote, while all Republicans. That was on Dan Crenshaw's Twitter feed. Representative Dan Crenshaw.
That another one of those social media things you were talking
Dan Crenshaw is I believe
the eye patch guy.
The eye patch guy, yeah.
You know what's
But
being talked about now is
I don't
a
assume
lot
he's lying.
A lot of federal research is at a standstill. For example, NASA, not that it's shut down, but NASA employees are not going to work. Center for Disease Control,
FBI
a
stuff.
lot of
How
those.
about the guy who owns a coffee shop right in the center of D.C. who's not getting any workers, not getting any business because all of his customers are out of work right now?
And of course, I have the end-all cure-all, which I've been saying for 2 years ever since Work Comp Matters started. There should be no excuse whatsoever for government shutdown. But when the government is
Absolutely.
shut down, not a single legislator, federally, House of Representative, or U.S. Senator should get paid. Now,
I
you
agree.
may
Are they getting paid?
Of course, they're getting paid.
Do we know that for a fact?
We know that for a fact.
I agree 100% they shouldn't get paid.
Yeah.
During the shutdown.
And a lot of people say, "Oh, what's the difference? They're all millionaires." Let me tell you something. They don't get a lot of their checks. A lot of those checks go into direct deposits back to the kids and the wives who spend them on bills. When the kids and the wives don't get the money, believe me, the government will be reopened immediately.
I like that. And so this brings me to the question I asked. Sorry, I know I was below the microphone there, Scott. This brings me to the question I asked before we started, which is, does anybody know, and if anybody listening to this can tell Steve, does anybody know if MSAs are getting reviewed during the shutdown?
Okay.
I do want to know that.
Excellent question. Are your
I would
MSAs
assume yes.
getting reviewed
Social
during the
Security, Medicare hasn't been affected by the shutdown.
The
at all.
checks haven't been affected, but are MSAs considered essential services? I don't know.
Collecting money is probably essential. IRS hasn't been shut down.
They're not
I
collecting
know.
money.
IRS?
MSAs aren't collecting money.
Well, some are going to be administered by CMS themselves, while others are self-administered. So they could be.
No
But-
no applicant attorney who knows what he's doing is going to let CMS administer one of his MSAs. Am I right?
No, but it depends on the amount, of course, right? If it's an enormous case, there could be instances where you have no choice in
Yes.
the matter. But yeah, of course, naturally, I always tell my clients, now you must spend this money, but obviously I'm not going to babysit you because you're an adult. Bye-bye. And
Jacuzzis are therapeutic and they are necessary
Those are trips to Hawaii.
to treat your industrial
I have
injuries.
never told my client that. I just tell them, you know what, your case is over. I got another client. I got to go. Okay, I got to take care of the next one.
That's right.
But back to, we didn't get to talk about the protest either,
Okay,
or whatever
so
it
let's
is. You know, we have a
talk
guest.
about-
We have to let him hit the
All right.
issues.
The other thing that I jotted down was you've got the issue with it's the Covington Catholic School, which I think is they're either in Kentucky or Ohio, and they had the showdown. They had the
Kentucky.
shutdown. Excuse me, the showdown with the Native American protesters last week. And it's been a big buzz. And the video, you've got this kid standing there with a "Make America Great" hat on, facing down the Native American protesters. And this is a good indictment of social media because this story comes out, and all of a sudden you've got all these people blasting this kid for completely disrespecting and going after
that
this.
was mainstream media.
It was mainstream and it was social media, and you got all these celebrities going to their Twitter, and then they had to walk it back because maybe it wasn't accurate, and now it's going back and forth. And as Mike discussed, we have the Black Hebrew
Israelites
who allegedly instigated something, maybe. And the bottom line is nobody knows what really happened. What I will say, and this is the only thing I will say that I can see, is that kid standing there with the MAGA hats with that smile on his face.
It certainly seemed like a smirk to me.
It looked like a smirk to me,
and with these guys in the background going, yeah!
Yeah, and they're jumping up and down, and they're doing the tomahawk chop in front of this Native American war veteran.
He's not a war vet.
Veteran.
He lied about that. The guy came to 3 different protests. They found him on social media at 3 different events, claiming different things. He's a professional agitator. That's what he is. There's other video that walked up.
He seems to be very good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's a pro. Yeah, he's a professional agitator. I don't have time for that personally. I can't imagine how a person's life can take such a turn where they have time for something like that.
Supposedly, I may say, I saw the Today Show interview today, and the kids were faced with this alleged abuse by the black Israelites or whatever, and they were saying all kinds of disgusting things and basically making fun of them because they're exercising their First Amendment right to wear a hat that the Israelite guys didn't like.
Right. Which they have a right to do. Wear a hat. It's fine.
And then, so apparently there were a number of them. It looked like they were like 50. Some teacher, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, said, well, let's just do the fight song, which I think probably was not a very good idea.
Not if you're trying to dial things down.
Yes.
So I would love to know really what happened. I don't think you'll ever know what really happened. But the kid did stand there with what looked like a smirk on his face with this guy, whether he's a veteran or not.
Do you think it's assault by that Native American man with the drum to walk up to the kid's face and start beating the drum right there?
Do we know that he walked up to the kid? Is that established?
Yeah, there's video.
He didn't touch him.
He didn't.
Audio. You don't need to touch somebody. It could be harmful contact to your ears.
It's the intent to ththreaten a battery is the legal definition.
Imminent
of
apprehension of unlawful contact.
I think saying that it was an assault is a stretch.
All I'm saying is, if you walk up to me on a street like that with some drum, there's gonna be something beaten.
Well,
it's not
on the street.
And it ain't the drum.
First of all, it's not on the street. It's in the middle of a protest.
Yeah, I get it. It's a Capitol Hill. You're protected by all the Capitol Police.
I would not call it an assault. All he did was walk up and beat a drum.
I would think twice on a street before you walk up to anybody and beat a drum in their face. Okay.
It wasn't on the street.
In L.A., you're asking for it. On the Capitol Mall, you're protected by a bunch of federal police looking around. And
what about the guy in the parking lot who's watching our cars right now? He wasn't he wasn't assaulting us.
I just think respect is the ultimate law, so to speak, and
but
it's very disrespectful.
Define respect differently, my boy.
Well, yes, but at the same time, walking up to somebody's face with a drum is disrespectful.
The security guy in the back that my brother's referring to said the word respect about 12 different times in about 5 minutes. It's like, I respect you and you respect me. And
well, I think respect is basically the golden rule. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated.
Right.
Would that gentleman if I took a radio and just walked up to his face and started blasting American music right there?
The kid could have turned around and walked away.
Okay, and so could the gentleman when I go with the boombox to his face. It's not our obligation to turn around and walk away when people are acting unreasonable.
I think
you're more likely to be in your right when you punch that person in the face.
Texas
stand
your ground.
Yeah. That's not Texas. That's America. You're not going to get bullied by some intolerant.
It's not
nut.
America. It's not America.
We don't get bullied by intolerance. Okay, we stand up to it. But when someone's going to come up and assault us, we'll stand there. You're lucky you don't get punched.
Well, banging a drum is not necessarily assault.
I think it is if it's your ears.
What amazed me was how, at least initially, everybody condemned the students, and yet there was all kinds of other stuff that went on. Mm-hmm. I find that most interesting.
Mm-hmm. Getting in each other's faces, you're asking for a fight out there. I don't know why people would even act that way. But with a drum, without a drum, who's ever at fault? I think the video is pretty good.
Do you think his friends who were jumping up and down and chanting and doing the tomahawk chop were behaving in an appropriate manner?
appropriate, maybe not. Disrespectful, yeah, but at a distance. That's different than getting in someone's face. You're escalating when you get in somebody's face.
I
Now
agree.
you're looking at physical violence as the next step. It's not the Israelites or whatever they are, shouting racial epithets from 30 feet. Okay, that's their right. They can shout whatever they like. But when you walk up to somebody when they're shouting, right, you have a different mindset right now. You're about to make a fist. You're like, I got to protect myself.
Well, I need to look at the video again and
Check
see
out the video,
how
yeah.
he walked up.
I didn't even
Exactly
hear
as you
about
said.
I don't think
it
it
until
shows
5
how
minutes
he
ago.
It does. You can go
does?
check it out on. Yeah, there's a lot of different camera angles coming out. He walks right up to the kids. He closes the
This
distance.
one specific kid?
This one specific kid. He just picks him out and walks right up to him and starts making his moment. Making his agitation. He's professional. So.
Walgreens Boots Alliance, Inc. will pay $269.2 million to settle 2 whistleblower lawsuits accusing it of civil fraud for overbilling federal health care programs for over a decade, the U.S. Department of Justice said yesterday. The pharmacy chain will pay $209.2 million to resolve claims it improperly billed Medicare, Medicaid, and other federal programs from 2006 to 2017 for hundreds of thousands of insulin pens it dispensed to patients it knew it did not need them. Scott, are we running out of time or what? 58 minutes. We're at 58 minutes. So we got a few more minutes. If anybody wants to read a story of burning desire, now is the time.
Well, I think Mark, you could get the last word. I mean, let him
Absolutely.
report. He's our guest.
Absolutely.
We have some interest. Well, maybe
which one do you want me to do?
Whichever one
Robert?
hasn't been read yet.
Read 8.
Read 8. Okay, 8 it is. I got to go back. And on 8, Governor Gavin Newsom has called President Trump's 2-year barrage to undermine the Affordable Care Act vandalism, while other state and national health care experts have described it as sabotage, a slow bleed, or even death by 1,000 cuts. Local and state health officials and now the newly sworn-in California governor have sought to blunt the continuing onslaught from Trump and congressional Republicans to repeal or undermine the nation's
It's the first time I've heard the word blunt used to mean subside. You know what I mean?
I have a question I'd like to actually give Robert. When they repeal Obamacare, what's going to happen to all the people who are actually on it now?
Oh, I mean, well, if you like your health care, you can keep it. So
Can you at the same rate you're getting it?
That was an Obama quote there for you.
Really?
So it just lets you know that who cares?
Keep your doctor,
right?
too.
If you like your doctor, you can. So the answer to your answer is who cares? Because your president previously, the Democratic, candidate, just lied left and right. But I am in agreement generally with the terms of the Affordable Care Act, except for the individual mandate. I don't like the government telling you that you have to compulsion.
Well, Trump got rid of that.
Which has now been
But
thrown out.
I do like. I mean, who doesn't want a society that has health care? But it's how we get to these goals. It's not our goals that are different. It's our routes towards them.
And man, I have one question for you. Okay, you're a moderate Democrat, and I like that. I'm a conservative Democrat. I'm a little bit further up there, but there's room on the bus.
And he likes that too.
And, there's room on the bus.
I love that.
Room on the
There's
bus.
room for everybody.
Yeah.
That's strange because I don't know if I align with Mike a lot.
all this Newsom stuff and all the single payer yada yada yada. Are our taxes not gonna go through the roof? And are they not? The Newsoms not telling you that
Well, as far as what though? I'm not sure I follow the question.
taxes going up to pay for all the stuff.
I'm sure they will.
You mean universal health care for anyone
Yes.
who walks in here? Illegal,
all that
legal,
stuff.
any
All that
citizen, any state, any country, no problem?
And I think it's disingenuous because they're not saying that. So it's all pie in the sky, and everybody's going, and all those horrible Republicans, they don't do.
Well, in California, there's no such thing as any Republicans. I mean, I know off the air you said that I was Republican, but Mike, if you
actually
consider
said
yourself
I said ultra conservative.
ultra conservative, which I guess
You
you
can be
meant
libertarian as far as I know.
I think I don't know if I am or not, but I do align a lot with Mike and with Ted when he's here, and I guess they both describe themselves as conservative Democrats.
That's correct.
And obviously, socially, maybe we all are very liberal, and perhaps that's why we're all on that side
But
of the aisle.
fiscally, it's different.
Well, yeah, we don't like to spend money. Yeah, that's where we really differ, right? It's not our social views necessarily. It's our immigration policy. Not necessarily criminal policy. We're all pretty liberal. We supported Trump's.
Well, the thing about
reformation of
California,
penalties.
is that no party has more than 50% of the membership. I think the largest one are the Democrats at about 45%. The undeclareds have exceeded the Republicans. Undeclareds are about 26%, and the Republicans are about 24%.
Boss, I actually have a question for Mike before we
just wrap it up because we're about out of time. Go ahead.
So, I didn't pick a political party. I didn't vote for Trump last election. I told you that. Even though I sound one way or another.
Yes,
I
and
know
you constantly
hard to
refuse to say whether you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, or whatever.
It just changes every day.
He doesn't have to say.
Yeah,
I mean,
generally, you
just
can
say
tell
he
my
refuses
views
to.
align more conservatively, but it depends strongly.
but
There's
go
certain
ahead.
things that I stand up for. How would you feel about the Democratic Party right now? Do you feel like they've been radicalized and that there's really no negotiation that could take place with this government shutdown?
I think they're moving in place. I think they're standing in place is what
I think they're totally hypocritical. They claim to be
right?
they claim to be the party of tolerance. Yet, unless you're for anything that Donald Trump stands for, then all of a sudden you deserve to be stomped in the ground like a wet burlap sack.
Well, that's what I'm wondering is how do Democrats view their own party? Do they see the radicalization going on, or do they think that they're still staying true to their original principles?
Just like the Republicans got taken over by the Tea Party about 7 or 8 years ago.
which
But that failed, right?
I don't think there
Yes, it
is
did.
a universal message, and I don't think there is a flag bearer to follow. It's not Pelosi.
I'm going to give you the universal message. Thank you very much for tuning in to Work Comp Matters. It's been a fantastic show. And I want to thank, of course, our sponsors, WorkCompCentral.com. If you want your 7-day, no-obligation free subscription, give them a call at WorkCompCentral.com for the best news, blogging, education for both California and the United States. A1 Law, the #1 computer management system used by more workers' comp attorneys. Give me a call at 1-833-574-4120 for your no-strings-attached money-back guarantee, $1 to A1 Law. You concert, sports, theater tickets, give Santa Monica tickets. Call our buddy Brian,
And Rangoon Ruby.
395-8587. For the Chief of Staff, the Doctor, Michael Zyma. For my brother, the Litman, attorney Mark Appel. For my protege, attorney Robert Ozeron. Scott Walton of Uncle Studio on the board, taking care of the technical difficulties. All the way back in Munich, Germany, John Scalia. And of course, we couldn't continue to do the show. Well, we could, but we don't want to for this because of this. We appreciate the support of all the good people back at WorkComp Central, including but not limited to Ms. Kristen Chavez. My name is Steve Appel. We'll see you again next week for another edition of WorkComp Matters.